our executive one-star diamond director and international coach, Rances.
All right. So, good evening, everyone. So, I hope everybody right now is actually safe and healthy. All right. So, are you guys hearing me so far? Are you guys hearing me?
Good from both sides.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So, here we go. All right. So, good evening one more time, and I wish everybody health and safety right now. I know it has been difficult for a lot of people to be, at home, and we have sacrificed a lot. In fact, we've lost so much. For example, we've lost the usual social structures that we used to enjoy whenever we do business. We've also lost a lot of routines. However, you know, let's just accept it. And one way to actually move forward is to be able to accept how it is going in our world today and just to be adaptive. And one of those skills that you can develop to be adaptive is actually coaching. So let me start. Let me share my slide right now. Give me a minute to share my screen. Okay. All right. So I'm sure you guys. Do you guys hear? Do you guys see that? Looks like I'm having a hard time. Okay, so there you go. So are you guys seeing this perfectly on both Zoom meetings?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Now, so let's talk about coaching. All right. So the topic right now is about coaching effectively, and I know you guys are already familiar with coaching. For a lot of people, actually, they've used the word coaching a lot to address their uplines. In fact, it has been used to substitute the word upline for coaching for whatever purpose. And tonight, what I'd like to accomplish is that we would have an understanding of what coaching is, how we can use coaching in this time of disruption in our business, and how we can actually help a lot of people as well, being leaders ourselves. And maybe if we have more time later on, we could also explore how we can use coaching as a method of doing sales, as we would be calling people and engaging them in our business. This is actually a high time for us to expand our business, to go out there online, not literally, but go out there online to be able to reach out to a lot of people, because everybody right now is faced with challenges as to their health. Okay, so let me introduce a little bit of myself. We're part of the $1 Million Club. All right, me and my wife Selena are part of the $1 Million Club, and we've been in USANA for 11 years already. And at that time, got jumbled up. All right, I'm sorry for that. So we're part of the $1 Million Club and we've been doing USANA for 11 years already, and we are so blessed because when we qualified for the $1 Million Club, we're supposed to go for retreat for a $1 Million Club retreat in the U.S., but apparently we were not able to go, and so we postponed that a year after. But we were so blessed because the year after we went on the $1 Million Club retreat, but this time not alone, but also with our left and right, our executive 3-star Diamond Director, Ronel Blanco, and of course on my other side, Diamond Director, Jack Candido. Okay? And we've also celebrated our 10th year anniversary in USANA with this wonderful award, the Country Vision Award for the Philippines in 2019. It's been a wonderful journey in USANA so far. And just to tell you a little bit about my credentials in coaching, just so that you would know where I'm coming from, that this is not just, an academic discussion about coaching, but also coming from a very rich experience for years of coaching, not only within USANA, but also outside of USANA. I am recognized as a coach by the International Coach Federation, and I also train people to be coaches. So we have a program called Mastery in Coaching, which is actually approved coach-specific training programs by the International Coach Federation. And we also train people to be professional coaches for their continuing coaching education. I'm also a fellow of the Harvard Institute of Coaching. It's an affiliate of the Harvard Medical School, and I also hold an MBA with a concentration in leading, coaching, as well as mentoring. I'm also part of a huge organization called the Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder Centered Coaching, and I'm proud to be the only one in the Philippines selected to be an associate to Marshall Goldsmith in large coaching projects, which means that I get to work directly with the number one coaching guru and also the top leadership thinker in the world, Marshall Goldsmith, in large coaching projects, specifically with Fortune 500 companies. All right. And so far, the programs that we have been doing for C suite leaders at the executive level, like CIOs, CEOs, CFOs, has been very successful, and we have a success rate of about 95% on our leadership programs. So now let's talk about coaching and how we can apply that in Usana. All right. So coaching apparently has been used by a lot of people, and in fact, a lot of people also advertise themselves to be coaches. There's nothing wrong about it, but coaching actually is a very specific discipline. So let's first explore what coaching is, and later I'll show you how to do coaching at the very basic level later on. And we could understand coaching by first exploring what coaching is not. All right. Coaching is actually a client driven discipline. So, what coaching is not, it is not therapy. So, coaching is not therapy. Therapy is actually a form of medical intervention, and it is assumed by the therapist that the person has something in his behavior that needs fixing, right? But coaching, that is not the case for coaching. Coaching is also not counseling. Counseling is digging into the past and digging into some of what could be the possible causes of certain behaviors and dealing with a client specifically by going back to the past and allowing healing to take place through counseling. That is not coaching as well. Coaching is also not mentoring. In mentoring, it will take a senior person to pass on his expertise to a junior person or his subordinate. In other words, it's the mentor passing on his expertise to another person who's younger, and that is not coaching as well. Coaching is also not consulting. Consulting is providing answers for difficult issues in business, and consultants have specific expertise. That's why people get them. Coaching is also not training. Coaching is also not training. Training is about development of skills. Teaching is about passing on of information. So none of these, therapy, counseling, mentoring, consulting, training, as well as teaching, are actually coaching. So what then is coaching? Coaching is client driven, which means that we consider every client or every coachee an expert, and the role of the coach is actually to draw out that expertise so that the person is self-reliant enough to be able to tackle his own problems. So this is how coaching is actually defined by the International Coach Federation. There are a lot of definitions of coaching, but this is the one that has been agreed globally by professional coaches as to what coaching really is. It is totally different from the sports coaching that we know of. There are activities that are never used in professional coaching that have been used in sports coaching. Right? So this basically is a partnering with a client with a thought provoking creative process to inspire them to unleash their personal and professional potential. And there's a specific process that we follow in coaching. There are a lot of models out there that you can actually explore, but there are specific process that you can use, particularly here in Usana. So in a sense, coaching is actually a combination of both consulting and also therapy. Okay, so you basically help an individual leader find business solution. It involves management and goal setting based on organizational ethics, paid for, of course, by the company, paid to ask the right question, tackles difficult issues at work and at home, focuses on individual behavior and change, explores subjective experiences. But one thing different about coaching as to the other modalities or interventions for performance is that it's focused on the future. So coaching is never focused on the past. You want people to keep on moving forward no matter how difficult the situation is. And that's where the power of coaching comes in. You basically foster individual performance in a business context, and you also help leaders discover their own path. Okay? There are several types of coaching. Number one is executive coaching, which I do basically with Marshall Goldsmith, stakeholder centered coaching. And there's also leadership coaching, which you do for leadership development when you're developing leaders. Aside from the training and other modalities, you also use coaching. And then innovations coaching, which is basically with teams and companies, otherwise called the inquiry driven leadership. And then management coaching for matters of management, systemic coaching, which I also do, which if you want to be involving a lot of people all together to tackle a very wicked problem, for example, like the COVID problem, it takes a systemic approach to be able to solve that. And then team coaching, I guess you already know that, career coaching, helping out people advance in their career or figure out the best career for them. And what fits very well with Usana, because most of us are in sales, I mean, most of our activities are basically in sales, is actually performance coaching to improve the performance of people, and also life coaching, because apparently we are not just talking about numbers, we're also dealing with our partners. And it's very, very important that we also have to tackle some of the issues that they go through and, allow them to just vent out in a very purposive way and in a very in a very guided way to make room for your goals, because sometimes people are not ready for their goals if they have pent up issues right in there, right? And of course wellness coaching and many other forms of coaching that people have been calling their work with. Okay, so however, right now in this presentation, I guess we will be focusing more on performance coaching as well as life coaching. I guess that would be our focus, although I don't exactly know, because later on we will have two volunteers that our corporate from Singapore and the Philippines have suggested that I would be coaching to give you a demo of what coaching is all about. All right. Now, coaching follow very specific competencies. Okay, and what you see right now on your screen are actually the 11 competencies of the International Coach Federation. All right, you can take a look at that. But in this coaching, what you can observe from me whenever I would be doing the demo probably would be how to bring in my coaching presence into the conversation, how to do active listening, how to throw powerful questions to make the person reflect and dig deep into the issues and allow that person to actually come up with his own solution, so that the ownership about the solutions and the action steps are very solid because they're not dictated by me, by the coach, but they come up with the solutions themselves. All right. And we were also designing action is also part of it. But we don't have a lot of time for planning as well as goal setting and all the other aspects of coaching. Now, one example of a coaching model is what we call the GROW model, which is actually one of the earliest, one of the most essential examples. I'm not usually using a lot of the GROW model, but for a start, so that you would understand how coaching is done, it would be good to be guided with a very basic model. For example, the GROW model. All right. So there. Now, later on, you will also see how we would be applying the GROW model as well. So we'll see, because I don't have any agenda when I do my coaching with. Number one thing about coaches is that you don't carry with you your own agenda in a coaching conversation. It's usually the agenda of your coaches. Coachees. Now, these are some of the benefits of coaching for individuals. Okay? Number one is to establish and okay, I can't quite read it because it's covered. All right, so take a look at that, and I want you to read that for yourself. Take a screenshot. Let's just go through that one by one. All right. Take a screenshot. I don't have to explain each one of them. They're very self-explanatory. All right, because I want to be showing you later on how to do coaching. All right. And then these are the benefits for your organization. Empowers individuals to take responsibility. It increases engagement, which is very, very important, because without engagement, there is no high performance. People who are not engaged have difficulty performing on their jobs or in their business, improves individual performance, helps identify and develop high potential individuals. By coaching, you can actually identify which ones are ready for leadership. All right. Helps motivate, empower individuals to excel, demonstrate organizational commitment to people development, especially if you have a coaching culture within the organization. So here are some research, all right, on a large scale research for companies and organizations with strong coaching culture. That means they have been using coaching as a way of conversation within the organization. Apparently there is a very significant among those number of a huge number of organizations worldwide, all right, they actually enjoy more highly engaged individuals, employees and members of their organization compared to companies who did not intentionally create a coaching culture. And in terms of earning as well, there's a huge disparity between companies who have been using coaching as a coaching culture against those companies who have not been doing it. All right. Now, these are also some of the important impacts on leaders. All right, who actually have learned how to coach and have been coaching their people. All right. Oh no, this is important impact on teams. So improved team functioning by 57%, increased engagement by 56%, increased productivity by 51%, improved associate relations by 45%, and foster leadership development. All right, very significant numbers. And when you talk about 56%, 45%, or even 37% of improvement, that's a huge improvement already. And also among leaders who have learned how to coach, apparently they say that they have improved their self-confidence by 80%, improved their relationships by 73%, improved communication skills by 72%, and also improve work-life balance by 67%. All right, now let's go to the meat of this session right now. Coaching in times of disruption, and this is where I will be showing you how to coach. And later, if you have questions, you can also ask me your questions. All right. But I want to make sure that it is in the context of Usana. So the best way to do that actually is to have coaches, or to have as if I'm coaching a downline or a leader right now. But let me first explain how significant coaching is in times of disruption like this. All right. First, let's discuss the responses to disruption. All right. So in this graph, you will show on this side time against levels of functioning. All of us have certain levels of functioning that we are all very comfortable with. Okay. So probably prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, the level of functioning that you're very comfortable with is within that white line. And then suddenly there was a disruption, there was a lockdown, and things are no longer the same. So automatically, what used to be normal for you would no longer be normal, right? For some people, it may come as a huge adversity, so that their way of dealing it is only through survival. In other words, they are dealing with a problem, dealing with their lives at a survival level, which is way below what is normal for them. Get that? For other people, apparently, they are able to bounce back and recover, right? In other words, they go back to normal somehow, and they recover, they go back to normal somehow. Other people, apparently, also, the setbacks are converted into stepping stones, and these are people who are able to thrive out of a disruptive situation, out of a crisis. And what you want to do for yourself is to be able to move towards from survival to thriving. It's normal. It's not a contest whether who would thrive right away, and we're not supposed to be, we're not supposed to be amplifying that as if people have their own weakness, because people are actually capable of thriving or recovering, and that's the goal. We don't want people to stay at survival level, but simply to push people upward towards recovery without a very good process like coaching might be very difficult, right, for other people. And so it's very important we understand how to use the process of coaching so that people can start moving how they live their lives from survival towards recovery and then towards thriving. Can you imagine how difficult that would be to do goal setting with somebody who is just merely surviving, right? Probably goal setting would be easier if the person has already recovered, or even more easier if the person is already thriving, right? And that is your role as a leader and your role as a coach. And it's not just a job of professional coaches, it's also the job of most leaders. And the most effective way to actually take people from survival to recovery to thriving is actually through coaching. All right. And it takes time. It's not automatic. They're not going to wake up tomorrow recovered or thriving right away. For some people, it takes months. For other people, it takes days. For other people, it will take like a few weeks, and then they would be able to recover and then thrive and bounce back. Now, this is what usually happens to people. Normally, highly successful people use their higher thinking to approach life and the challenges that affront them. Okay? So, for example, you have situations around you normally, and these two terms right now refer to some parts of your brain. All right. The first amygdala is a pea-sized part of your brain and the middle of your brain. All right, part of your limbic system called the limbic system, and there's a pea-sized right there that actually enlarges whenever it's overstimulated. Not that it would enlarge too much, but it would enlarge because of the flow of blood towards it. And also, there's another part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, which is also your thinking brain or your executive brain, that is basically functioning as an executive over your body. You make decisions through your prefrontal cortex. Your creativity is a function of your prefrontal cortex. Decision making, good decision making, is a function of your prefrontal cortex, and that you would get a very balanced response whenever your prefrontal cortex is actually whenever your prefrontal cortex is active, all right, and not disrupted. And this is what most leaders do whenever they lead other people. It's the use of your prefrontal cortex, okay? So when you have a very balanced response, more or less, you become creative, people are more resourceful, people are more capable, they are calm, they're focused, they're disciplined, they're ethical, they make very good choices in life, basically, when they make use of their prefrontal cortex more, because they have a way of, even if there are threats, they have a way of framing the threats, and they have probably mastered some personal strategies to make sure that they process the information so that it wouldn't be stuck in your amygdala, but instead it would be moving forward towards the frontal part of your brain or your prefrontal cortex. All right. So anything you want to accomplish in life, your dreams, your goals, are all a function of your prefrontal cortex plus the other functions of your brain. But this one is actually what's leading all of them. All right. And by the way, our Copa Prime is focused on enhancing our prefrontal cortex, or should I say, focused on making our prefrontal cortex healthier. All right. Now, however, there is such a thing as amygdala. Whenever the threat is so big and it's VUCA, it's so volatile, that means that the variables are changing. For example, at one point, this has been your decision is based on a particular information or data. The next day, the policies would change. The next day, you hear some news. The next day, you hear another change of policy and stuff like that. All right, very volatile. Or maybe there's some form of uncertainty. You don't have a clear picture of how the future will look like, or how next week will look like, or how your finances will be after a month or 2 months. If the quarantine would be extended for a longer time and stuff like that. All right, when you are uncertain, because one thing about disruption will never tell you when it would come, and disruption will also not tell you when it would stop. Get that? So if you have too much of sensory input that is uncertain, volatile, and too complex for you to handle, and also at the same time ambiguous, that means you don't have any idea at all. A lot of people are not able to move forward in their lives simply because everything is just ambiguous. A lot of people have the fear of the unknown. People have fear of shame. People have fear of, going out there, inviting people, or, going after their goals because they're so afraid of the unknown right before them. And when you are actually bombarded with a lot of sensory input that seems to be VUCA, that seems to be volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, the part of your brain that's overly stimulated is actually your amygdala, which is also responsible for stimulating fear, the emotion of fear. Get that? Now, one thing about this, when the person is too stressed because of a lot of stress factors, what actually happens is that the amygdala would hijack the blood flow so that the blood flow or the flow of information will stop going towards the prefrontal cortex so that people become more impulsive. They get into a threat response. Either they fight, they flight, or they freeze. And we see a lot of people, probably right now in the time of COVID, some are just too angry. They're too combative. And because they couldn't process all the information and the ambiguities around them. Others apparently would flight. You won't no longer see them in your meetings, in your organization, and they have their own way of probably going on flight. And one way is feasting, to keep on eating, to comfort themselves, but never engage at all. For other people, apparently, they also freeze. Now, the threat response is not necessarily wrong. It's good for survival. In fact, for example, if you are about to, if a snake is about to bite you, you're not gonna think whether the decision making that you have to do doesn't have to be through your prefrontal cortex, because you don't have to process whether what shall I do, what's the color, is this venomous or what. Now, it's a normal response of most people to be able to survive, to either fight, flight, or freeze. To get that, that's not necessarily wrong. But stress is also not necessarily wrong. In fact, there is what we call eustress, a stress that will have a positive outcome, or that will also give you a positive feeling, a feeling of success and fulfillment, and yet it is still stressful, especially if you're going after your goals. But there's another form of stress that is to the extreme, called distress, when there's too much of it already. When of course there's too much of all the sensory inputs, eventually you get distressed, and that's when you start feeling some anxieties. You get stuck, you have anger, you have fear, you have worries, you start to hate others, you're disgusted, frustrated, anxious, very indifferent, depressed. For other people, you become less creative, you become impulsive, you're not capable of making the right decisions, you become very combative, simply because you're not able to intelligently process the information, because that is the job of the prefrontal cortex. But amygdala has already hijacked, and the reason why amygdala would hijack that, for your survival, so that instead of sending the information to prefrontal cortex so that it could, process it, the amygdala will send the information down to your brainstem to make your muscles ready for fight, flight, or freeze. So I hope you get the basic concept of that. So if you combine that together, you would see a big difference between leaders, between people who are capable of handling the situation, and others who are not. And this is very crucial. Can you imagine if somebody is so stressed and somebody is so distressed, and then he would be, he is working as a pilot. All right. Can you imagine what would happen for those minutes of decisions, for example, when it goes through some form of crisis or disruption? That's why it's very, very important that we all know, and we want to keep ourselves and also in our team to be operating at a higher thinking process. You get that? And that is part of the job of a coach or even a leader. So right now, I'll do a coaching demo. All right. And hopefully we'll be able to learn something from this. So may I call an associate from Davao. All right. She has been recommended by Miss Michelle from the corporate. Her name is Gia. Gia, are you there?
Yes,
Hi,
mentor.
Gia. All right. Hello, Gia.
But I'm not yet a co-host in the SG Zoom, so I believe they can't hear me yet. So my mic is not yet turned on.
All right. So I'll probably get back to you later on. Is that okay? I'll get back to you later on. So,
Okay, sir, no problem. They can hear.
can
Yes,
they hear
they
you?
can.
Can you guys in SG hear Gia? May I know if you can hear Gia? Oh, they couldn't hear Gia. Too bad. They couldn't hear Gia.
Can't hear me. Maybe
Alright.
they
The
can
Philippines, we can hear you.
make the co-host.
Yes, the SG team is working on that. Thank you.
Alright, so maybe I can go back to her. Alright, so for now, we are not gonna have a coaching demo with Gia. So maybe I can go back to that later on. I'll do another coaching demo, probably with another volunteer. Alright, can you do another coaching demo with another
They can
volunteer?
already hear me, mentor.
Oh, they can already hear you. Okay, it's good.
They can.
All right, I'm sorry for that, ladies and gentlemen. This happens. It's live. Okay, so Gia, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, mentor. I'm so excited for tonight, actually.
All right, so what I'd like you to do right now, I don't want you to think of me as your mentor. I just want you to think of me as, probably your leader, because, when you start calling me, for example, mentor, probably everything that I would tell you, you would say yes. But I want you to be more, I want you to have ownership over your own life and over your own problems, and I want you to be able to solve them. Get that? They say that a great leader is somebody who can make people perform very well when he's around, but he is even greater when he can make other people perform when he's not around anymore, right? So let's see. Now, anyway, Gia, what I'd like you to do right now is I don't want you to be conscious about other people, and I just want you to focus on me. It's as if we have a one-on-one conversation right now, okay? And that's the key. And I want you to just, as much as possible, look at me in the eye. All right, so Gia, right, we have very limited time right now, Gia. Okay, so I'll probably do a coaching demo. And by the way, for those of you listening, this will not take long, and it's not a complete coaching session. It's just a coaching demo to demonstrate some of the skills that you will be needing for coaching and also the impact of coaching. So hopefully we can see all of that right now. All right, so Gia, do you have a pressing issue that's probably bothering you right now, or probably you want us to talk about right now?
Okay, so basically my pressing issue as of the moment is the fact that I am starting to focus on my own account because I've been helping my partner, who is right now an executive co-director in Usana PH.
Oh, congratulations.
And I decided somehow to also, yes, thank you, mentor. So somehow I decided to also focus on my account, but when I decided to do that, somehow I was having a hard time growing myself and also growing my income as an associate in Usana. So I believe that's my pressing concern right now because I am already a resigned teacher here in the Philippines. So I'm doing Usana full.
All right, so you're now doing Usana full time, and what you're saying is that for a while that you were doing your account, and then after a while you have been helping out your partner as an assistant. So in other words, you got that account frozen for a while. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
And now you wanna go back and work it out.
Yes, mentor, precisely.
All right, but the struggle that you have right now is that you seem to be focused first on growing yourself and also growing your leader. Helping your partner's organization grow their leaders or their associates. And so the struggle right now that you are in is that is it a struggle of time or a struggle of focus, or what's the issue around why you are not able to work out your account?
I believe it's mostly the struggle of focus. Somehow, my focus or my attention was really divided during that time because we are also growing the group. At the same time, we're also having somehow paying attention to my new leg. And then somehow along the way, I've lost some people. And then I decided to just focus more on who's inside the organization. So somewhat like that. So I believe it's focus.
So
that's the problem.
All right, the problem of focus, but there's always a reason why you are not focused, and there's always a reason why you're not able to work out your own account. But then again, you can work out the account of somebody else, help work out the account of somebody else. Is there a feeling of uncertainty or a feeling of fear, probably, or just a feeling of not knowing exactly what to do?
Maybe it's the feeling of not knowing what to do, because somehow I realized that I've been training here in Davao in the Philippines, one of the cities here in Davao, but then somehow when I applied it to myself, I'm having a hard time, right? So I've been soaked with a lot of theories and how to do this and how to do that, but then somehow on my part I was having a hard time. How am I going to apply this in my own business, in my own associates, and in my own leg? So
All right,
maybe
so
it's a matter of where do I start?
yeah, exactly. It's a matter of where do I start. But I'm sure with all your exposure, I'm sure you know how to start. It's just that you don't exactly know the first step to starting. Is that what you mean?
Yes, mentor. That's what I mean.
All right, let's freeze there for a while because I want people to have an understanding of what you're going through. Is that okay? So let's freeze there for a while.
Yes.
All right. So what she's going through right now is something like this. All right. So you've learned that earlier, right? She was already used to a level of functioning. Yes. And then suddenly here comes a need. Apparently the partner wanted some help from her. And so there was a disruption. And that disruption was that she would have to focus on helping her partner, and yet she left out her business. Is that right, Gia? You're able to leave out your business?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, mentor.
have you lost your
yes,
people?
Mentor.
Have you lost your downlines in the process?
Yes.
Yes,
I've
you've lost your
some.
downlines.
Yes.
You got disrupted. You lost some of your downlines in the process. You're not able to work out, right? So as far
Yes, mentor.
you were thriving in terms of helping out your partner in his business, but you were merely surviving in terms of your own business in Usana. Is that right?
Yes, that's so right.
That is so right. So you are at the survival mode in terms of your own business,
Yeah.
but in terms of helping others, you're actually thriving. And in fact, you are excelling at that for sure. Right?
Yes, mentor.
So in other words, you're actually capable of thriving, but yet there's one part of you that's being left out. And the reason why it's being left out is because that part of you and that part of your business went through some form of disruption, and that is why your only way of coping with it is actually survival at this point in time. Right?
True. That's true.
Now given
Yes.
given our diagram on responses to disruption, all right, where do you want to see yourself in terms of working out your business? Do you want to be able to recover or thrive?
I want to thrive, of course.
All right, so this is my plan for Gia, ladies and gentlemen. My plan right now is actually like this. Right now, Gia went through some form of disruption, and the truth is, she's capable. She said that she's not capable, she doesn't know what to do, but we found out later on that she actually knows what to do. In fact, she's been helping out her partner build her business, and now her partner is actually an executive gold director already. Get that? But as far as this part of her business is concerned, her own account is concerned, it went through some form of disruption, and at this point, she's been operating under survival, not even under recovery or thriving. She has been disrupted, in other words. In other words, she has been freezing. Her way of dealing with this threat or dealing with this crisis or disruption is actually freezing. You get that? Now, what I plan to do with her right now, so right away, if you are not an experienced coach, you would think right away, okay, then I will teach you how. But even if I would teach her how, or as an upline, I would teach her how, she would still not move forward because she's not aware that she's under survival. And my goal right now is actually to take her to the next level, which is recovery, and all the way to the next level, which is thriving. And I will do that. But I will do that in a process like this. To get that, at first, right, what I'd like her to do is that for sure, Gia, probably right now, the reason why you have difficulty, what are some emotions that you're going through right now that's why you're having difficulty focusing? When you say focus, it's not that you don't want. It's just that there's so much clutter around because there are just too many concerns around. You have been disrupted and you're, operating under survival. What are the emotions associated with moving forward for you?
Maybe there came a time that there were some doubts already. Somehow I lost some confidence along the way.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, there's also fear in building somehow because maybe they'll be gone just like before. At the same time, there's also kumbaga, existing doubts if I can do it, if I can rebuild it, because somehow
Right.
I was really doing it together with my partner. So how about if I'm going to do it on my own? So maybe
All right.
maybe I can't do it, something like that.
Okay, so exactly. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is not practiced at all. All right, it's not practiced at all, and we just talked about this for the first time right here. And what she's actually experiencing right now is she's in the fear zone. And the reason why she couldn't get out of her disruption because she knows that taking a step outside of that disruption zone is actually her fear zone. And that's exactly what she told us, right? She has, she lacks the confidence. She has a lot of fear whether this would work out or not, right? And probably come up with a lot of excuses, and probably for some people would even be affected by other people's opinion, right? So in this process of coaching, what I'm trying to accomplish is that I'm taking her out from disruption that she's just going through some form of fear. So and then eventually take her to the learning zone so she could develop adaptability, deal with the challenges as well as the problems, and then maybe later on acquire some skills and develop the resilience to keep on moving forward so that hopefully when she's done with that in the process of coaching, it doesn't happen overnight and it doesn't happen with one session. Probably 2 weeks of one session per week, the following week or probably in the third week, things would start to change with her because the goal eventually is for her to move towards the growth zone. Because a lot of people at this point in time, she's gathering a lot of information. She's in the middle of the fear zone as well as the learning zone. There's a willingness to actually do it, but I would want her to move all the way to the growth zone because that is where I can do very effective goal setting with her. I have to deal with a lot of pent up emotions right there, all right? And I want to take her to the learning zone. Hopefully, if I could also find something within her to take her all the way to the growth zone so she could find her purpose again, she could find her zeal again, she could develop that, resilience again, all right? So there you go. And then maybe afterwards, I can do goal setting using the grow model. But all right, so let's just see. Okay, let's see. So, Gia, right now, given that you actually have all of those fears, okay, for sure you have all of those fears. And what is clear right now is not really a problem of lack of focus. Maybe, do you get that? Maybe the problem is not really the problem of lack of focus. But the only reason why you're not having focus right now is because, you're taking in too many tasks. Is it right to
Yes.
say that you're taking in too many tasks that is irrelevant to your goal because you don't want to engage the goal in the first place and you want to compensate that with other tasks so that you would excel somewhere else because you don't want as a way of compensating for the real one that really matters to you. Am I right?
Yes,
Tell me
mentor.
more about it.
Yes, mentor, because I believe even before I'm really competitive and somehow the buy was really challenged right now. That it was, if I was able to do it before, then why can't I do it right now? So there's really something going inside. Somehow I get frustrated with my goals, if I wasn't able to hit it week after week after week. So maybe that's really something that's been bothering me right now. So more than the focus, diba? Maybe I am quite diverted on the fact that I cannot hit my goals anymore.
So you're saying maybe. So what is certain for you right now why you're not able to move forward?
All right. I'm just going to remove the maybe because it's really that. It's really the fact that I get frustrated with not hitting my goals week after week.
So you're
and
not.
then that's true that somehow I'm finding ways to cope up with that certain emotion by diverting my attention to creating things for my group. Diba? That's like what you said a while ago. That's not somehow helping my goal. Diba? So far. So somehow that's my way of diverting my emotions and frustration and diverting it to something that I can say to myself that I was productive.
I can see that you are a very courageous woman being able to talk about this in front of a lot of people. So can I ask you right now to move that
so
to
liberating.
the next level, to move your courage to the next level? Can I ask you right now to move your courage to the next level? So I want you to imagine, you can close your eyes. You can close your eyes. It's up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. I want you to imagine all the activities that you have right now. And I want you to sort out in your mind which of those activities are actually meant to just cover up. And then which of those activities do you really need to do to move your business forward? And I want you to erase all of those activities in your mind that are just there to cover up. And I want you to see the activities that can really move your business forward.
Okay. So I believe the most unuseful thing that I was doing before is focusing on the goals of my other associates, and then I was always doing some what do you call these things for them, like I was asking their goals week after week, and I am somehow pushing them. So I believe I was so ineffective during those times because I somehow injected pressure on them, and they're not actually my line. So something like
Oh.
that. But I have fun in helping them. Okay, but I believe the thing that I should be focused on is personal productivity, like the basics in Yasana, the sponsoring, the nurturing, and everything, of course, the prospecting. So that's what I am going to do because somehow been doing I've been doing a lot of things for other people, even though it's not my line. But I'm happy about it. I'm really, really happy about it. But somehow, on myself, on my own business, so I'm not doing so well. So maybe that's what I really need to modify or to regulate right now in my schedule.
All right. So is it safe to say that you really know what to do and you just don't do it?
Yes.
Because
Yeah. Sometimes you know the answers already,
you know the answers
but
already.
you're not just doing it.
So how important
Yes.
is your goal to you right now? That new goal to you right now?
It's very, very important. It's so important because I want to hit these goals for myself because I want to also give my best to my family, and of course I want to hit some travels, diba, using my name, and I wanna treat my family as well. So it's really deep. Okay, and also I want to pay some debts. I have a lot of things to do, so that's why I really need to be successful in this business.
I actually caught a word that you have been using connected to your family, and you said deep. Does that mean that you have a very deep why connected with your family?
Yeah. Yes, mentor.
All right, so what's going to be the situation a year from now if you continue what you're doing right now, not focusing on your own goals and not being able to address that deep why for your family? How is life going to be for you 1 year from now?
I believe I will be the same person that I was right now.
So how would you feel about it?
I would really feel frustrated. At the same time, I would really feel that my resignation was not worth it if I'm not going to do things for my business right now. And at the same time, I cannot solve the problems that we have right now.
So what's going to be the worst situation? If still, you go back to your comfort zone of actually helping out other people without working out your own business, what's going to be the worst situation in the future?
I will be really left behind. I will be really left behind, and at the same time, I hate the feeling of being stuck. The feeling of being stuck, not growing myself, not growing my business. So on a more personal level, it will be really not my thing, and I don't want it. I don't want it to happen. Mm-hmm. That feeling of regret, the feeling of regret, the feeling of not being able to accomplish things that I have imagined myself achieving it. So it will really be frustrating.
Listening to you, it sounds to me like you have just been entertaining yourself all through those months or probably years, but not really, engaging on what really matters to you.
Yes, mentor. I somehow realized that one.
All right. So you already know what to do.
Yes.
But, all right.
I know what to do.
But who do you need to be? What change needs to happen inside of you? Who do you need to be as a person so that you would be able to follow through on what you need to do?
Again, mentor, somehow it was
What
choppy.
change needs to happen within you? What kind of transformation has to take place so that you become the person who can really follow through on what you need to do because you already know what to do?
I believe I should be more focused right now on self-productivity. At the same time, need to focus right now on boosting my confidence again. So I really need to tell myself, because nobody can tell it to me. It's only myself that can say it to me 1,000 times that I can really do it. And I have to also think that whatever happens along the way, it's always a plan of God. At the same time, whatever I'm going to engage in, as long as I always keep my eye on the prize, and I do whatever it takes, and then of course I can do it.
You sound like
And
a champion.
I would like, thank you, mentor.
But a champion without certainty. What will make it certain now? So that tomorrow you wake up with certainty and take that one step.
I think I should be always looking at the goals that I have and the deep why that I have, because maybe I need to revisit it from time to time, because somehow along the way the frustration have covered it up. I've forgotten, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this business? So maybe I need to focus on those things so that I can focus on myself. I don't want to cry, mentor. Yes.
What else?
Sorry. And of course, appreciate myself even more.
If there's one thing that your whole life, both frustrations and failures and successes have prepared you for, what is that?
Again, mentor, sorry.
If there's something that your life has prepared you for, including all your failures and frustrations, if you have been prepared for something bigger, what is that something bigger?
Of course, I'm prepared to win. Because I believe all these things that I'm feeling right now is just a great reminder that sometimes we need to be able to experience this, so that we'll know that wait so that we'll know that wait I'm having a mental block right now.
It's
So
alright.
again, I'm meant to win. At the same time, I'm meant to succeed in this business. I'm meant to influence a lot of people. At the same time, I'm meant to reach my goals in this business, because I believe if you're going to really set a goal, and then I myself, I'm very based on my values, based on my what do you call this, based on what I really value the most. I really would like to hit my goals. That's what I'm really born to be, di ba, a goal getter. That's why I'm not going to focus more on the frustrations. I'm not going to focus more on the disappointments. But maybe I just need to focus on really getting my goals.
Alright. So, knowing the Gia that you are, you're driven, you're successful, you have the mindset, you're capable, you have the knowledge, and you have the background being a driven woman, a successful woman, and an achiever yourself, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you only have this week to turn things around. And you have been telling me about goals. So what goal would you be focusing on so that you can really turn things around beginning this week?
Is it a specific goal, mentor, for the business?
Specific
Of
goal
course,
related to your
specific goal related to my goal. Since I'm focusing on building, and I really wanted to add more people to my organization. To be specific, I wanted to have more people under my organization. So if this is my last week, then I'll be having 10 to 20 more associates in my business.
How
specific as that?
certain are you about it? How committed are you to get it this week?
I'm announcing it to the 2,000 people who are in the Zoom right now. It's kind of parang I'm feeling anxious right now, but then I'm gonna say it because yeah, whatever you really perceive, diba, you're going to achieve that one in God's grace. So I'm going to tell the world, the Asia Pacific, that I'm going to build my organization fast and I'm going to be a successful entrepreneur in this business. And specifically this week, I'm going to add at least 10 to 20 people under my organization.
Wow, that's
It's
amazing.
really-
All right, I'll cut you there because from there we can already do the grow model. Supposing we talk about the specific goal, the realities that you have right now, what are obstacles and options, and of course way forward, but we don't have time to do that. So thank you so much, Gia. That's wonderful.
Thank you, mentor.
Such amazing that we are able to, we are able to move you from being, contained in the disruption and in the fear zone, and very carefully you moved from the learning zone. And I'm sure people have seen that all towards the growth zone, so that in one conversation, a short conversation, now you're ready to take on a goal. So that is because you already have that expertise and the confidence inside of you, and all it takes is actually to draw that out. I believe you, and I know you're gonna do that this week. All right. So
Thank
my
you,
prayers
mentor.
are, you have my prayers for that. All right. So God bless you.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
so moving forward from that coaching demo, I'm sure you guys have learned, all right, that it wasn't me trying to counsel her, it wasn't me trying to tell her things, but it was just herself. I was just a thinking partner, helping her out process her emotions as well as her thoughts, until it ended up with her saying that this week I want to be able to turn it around. This week I would have this much number of people to make my business work and to take me closer to my business, to take me closer to my goals. Isn't that amazing? People are actually capable of that. People are not too dumb to not be able to, sort out their own problems and their own challenges. And I believe that people have already been prepared in the past for what is ahead of them. You have been prepared, no matter how less confident you feel about yourself, no matter how frustrated about your performance. The past is past. It has nothing to do with your future. All you need to do is make that decision, and sometimes it just takes a purposive conversation like that to take you deeper into your issues and then move you forward. All right. Now we will have another coaching demo very quickly for 15 minutes before I close, and this time we will have one of the leaders that have been suggested to me. One of the leaders that has been suggested to me. All right. So are you there? Precious from Singapore. All right. Hi, Precious. How are you? Thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy, you're very successful. I'm already intimidated by your presence, but thank you so much for giving us this time to do our coaching demo right now. Okay? So we only have last 15 minutes to work on your issue. So what is it? What's a pressing issue that might be bothering you right now, or some things that you have been working on as a leader?
Okay, so now because of the lockdown, my challenge has really been my time, because right now I'm juggling to be a mother, a teacher at home, and also, of course, a leader to my team. So for me, I feel that I don't perform well in every aspect of my life. So I feel bad.
All right. What you're actually saying is that you're feeling bad because of the situation. You're feeling bad because you feel like you're not being the person that you are supposed to be, or the person that you used to be. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I want to give you some time right now for breathing. I'll just explain to some people what you're going through, and I'm sure a lot of leaders have also been going through the same. And you see, Precious is one of those strongest people we've known, probably the most joyful person I've known in my life, and she's so infectious with her energy. But yet, in a disruption like this, somebody like Precious could also go through some sort of challenges in her own life. And Precious, I want to show something right now for other people to understand, and I also want you to understand your situation. By the way, in a coaching situation, you don't have to do this every time, but I want people to have a background as to where I'm coming from when I would be coaching, and to also help you understand what you're going through right now. So for everybody, people are thinking that the new norm today is actually moving towards the digital, but no, that's not the new norm. What COVID actually opened up for us is a world that has a totally new norm. And that new norm can be too enormous for all of us because the new norm is actually daily disruptions, right? At one point, for example, you've been disrupted because of the lockdown, and then, for example, in SG, it was announced that you have to take care of your children and you have to take care of their schooling. Now, before, you used to be unstoppable because you can do business, but now you have children to take care of, you have a family to take care of. At the same time, there's so much threats all over the place, complaints from other people, and a person in your position, a leader in your position with thousands of people under you, probably are overwhelming you as well with all of their concerns. And if you're a leader, this is actually our time to step up. But stepping up also means being vulnerable because only when you start accepting things that you are able to move forward. All right. So let me explain a little bit about that concept. Now, what you're going through probably is this thing. That's why I want to bring this up. All right. It's called the change curve. This is time. And of course, this is on the other side is your morale as well as your focus. Now, during the disruption, apparently, you were in a shock for a little while. And as leaders, basically, we have bias for action. And our bias for action, and because of that bias for action, that we want to go out right away and start working, which is okay, which is good. But for others, they went to the extreme of denying it because by denying it, they feel that they can cope better by denying all the situations. And then in the end, because they never get to accept what's really happening, they deny it and they give in to anger, unexplained anger. They give in to unexplained frustration. And for other people, apparently, they also give in to depression of some sort. All right? And also a sort of and eventually they can only get back to the path of recovery or thriving when they start to accept things as they are and not deny it, so that when you start accepting things and all the information and all the data you have at hand, then you can start doing problem solving one after another. Now, normally during COVID, that's exactly how we all went on, right? Shock, eventually, for some of us, denial. If you're the type of leader who's action oriented, you would easily deny that right away, and then you felt some anger because you're not seeing that you're no longer the precious you used to be. And I'd like to tell you that we are all at the same ground right now. Nobody knows what's happening. Nobody knows how to move forward. You get that? You get frustrated about yourself. But what I don't want you to experience is depression. So even if you're getting some frustrations or being angry about yourself or whatever, what I want you to do, you can actually skip depression. You can go through that in a little while, but you can also skip the long process of recovery. Recovery by jumping off, all right, dipping your toes on depression and jumping off all the way to acceptance. And that is exactly what I want you to, what I want you right now to be comfortable with. That life is messed up. Schedules are messed up. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to structure it. So tell me more. What's overwhelming you?
So because I want to help, of course, everyone who needs my help. So I feel that I really don't have all the time to help now, and if I take time for myself, so I feel guilty about it.
But you have to take care of yourself so you can also take care of others. Remember when there's turbulence, heavy turbulence on the plane, what they tell you first is to grab your own supply of oxygen before you put on the oxygen on somebody else. So what does taking care of yourself mean in the context of all the challenges around you?
I think I should not be guilty to take time for myself. Spend quiet time, maybe. Not only
You
me.
said, so how do you think that would work in terms of recovering back your leadership, recovering back the precious you used to be? How important is that thing? Is that some sort of sharpening the saw so that you can be sharper the second time around?
So maybe regaining my energy back and regaining my belief in myself again and my confidence.
All right. What else is overwhelming you right now that's causing all the frustration? Aside from having no time to help a lot of people, what else?
So when I do
Only
my
those that you're
business,
comfortable talking about.
family. So I feel that my kids really, especially their toddlers now, they really demand my time. So it's like, okay, I need to help. I need to spend time with them, and then I feel guilty because someone else needs my help. And then when I do this part, when I do my business, I feel guilty that I don't have time for my kids.
So are you some sort of like in a pendulum where you have to weigh which one you have to attend to or not? Is this something that you see to be competing with each other, or do you see a way for this to be, complementing with each other instead?
Actually, I know which is more important, but I don't. Sometimes I feel that if I don't do well in one thing, I feel bad about myself. Yeah, that's my problem. I feel guilty.
All right,
But actually, I know, but it's just that maybe I'm not focused one at a time. Maybe I need to be set aside time to be focused at a certain area and at a time.
logically you're actually capable, but emotionally it's pent up. And the reason why we cannot fully analyze how to go about it probably is because you're being overwhelmed emotionally. And I can see that as I see you. All right, we don't have time, but I want to coach you 1 hour or more after this. All right, so let's set that because I really, really want to help you, and I understand what leaders are actually going through. I just want to leave you with this right now, Precious, especially you and others. And, because of our bias for action as leaders, right away we want to deny things. We want to, as if we want to appear like we're great. And although, because we want to be strong for other people, right? But the best thing to be a better leader in a time of uncertainty is to accept the uncertainties as well. In fact, they're saying that for us to be able to navigate disruptions well is that we also need to be subjects of disruption. We have to understand that we are also subjects of disruption. Our level of the state and our level of energy can be disrupted as well. And these are all part of life. All right? And life is never linear, moving outwards like that. It's up, down, up, down, up, down. And I understand what you're going through. That's why I want to coach you. All right, I really want to coach you because I really want to help you. Because we are going through so much disruptions every single day, right? The schooling is disrupted, the social structures are disrupted, a lot of things are disrupted. So this wave that you're seeing right now, apparently for most people it's like this. They go through the shock all the way to problem solving, and then there comes another problem. They thought it's okay. They could recover and they go back again to another shock and then eventually try problem solving again. But in a time of disruption like this, it's not even the case. They are all intertwined. You're still getting frustrated and about to accept something, and now you're getting shocked with another one. And they're all intertwined. You're not even through all the way to problem solving. Along the way, in the middle of all that, there's another source that will bring your morale as well as your focus. And this is where, as leaders, you need to learn how to really coach people. And I feel bad when we don't have time, so that you can see how I would be coaching, Precious. But I really promise you that I would coach you. This will not take 15 minutes to coach, but it will take like probably an hour or two. But I'll get you through this. All right, I'll get you through this, and I promise that you have my service all the way through until you're able to put on a structure in what you're doing right now, because definitely you can do it. All right, definitely you can do it. It's just a matter of putting on some structure, and I believe in you, and I believe that you're very flexible, and I believe that yes, you can excel both in family as well as in business, as well as in other stuff. I'm doing Usana, I'm doing family. Thanks to my wife, she's doing an excellent work as well. And I'm also doing, and a lot of you probably don't know that I'm doing Usana part time because I'm also a full time coach. I'm doing Marshall Goldsmith. I'm training as well. And this time has been my busiest so far. And I've always, every night, I would be, in a meeting at MIT as well as in Harvard to try to make sense of things. But this is also a very exciting time. In fact, for me, it's an opportunity to rise up as a leader. It's very exciting time. And I would love to really extend to you, Precious, because you're my dear friend. All right, all the way through. We can have weekly coaching all the way through until I see you back, not back, but thriving in Precious 2.0. All right? So I can't have so much time. We have 3 minutes left. So maybe we can use that for question and answer. Sorry to cut you there, Precious, but I really, really promise you every week we will have a coaching session. So any questions so far before we close?
Few questions. Yes, we do have a few questions that is coming in. So one of the questions that they have is that in terms of coaching or performing downline to those who are passive, is there a different way of approaching that?
Yeah, definitely. There is always, coaching is not really a very complicated process, but it only takes a discipline called coaching presence, where as a leader or as a coach, you have to come without any agenda at all. You have to come clean slate, and your focus is totally on the person or on the coachee or on your downline. And sometimes for other people, the reason why they're passive is because they cannot engage in a goal because they have a lot of pent up issues. And just in a time like this, as a leader, by simply giving them time to a space to vent out and just tell you things that they're frustrated about, after they talk about it, you'd be surprised because they have actually released a lot of those pent out emotions and pent up issues. Then they can create a vacant space right now for goals and for moving forward. All right? Because that is how the brain works. That is also how our emotions work. So this is where leaders are most needed to actually be there for the people, because you can't just, although we want people to make progress, but we want them to make progress in a way that will be meaningful for them and also meaningful for you as a leader. So this is the best time to actually dig deep on the relationship, dig deep on the values of Usana, dig deep on our purpose. Because only, in a very turbulent time, you have to hold on to something very stable. And what's stable right now is our purpose in Usana, our values in Usana. Right? The methodologies may change, right? But if people have something to hold on to, then they can move forward. As a leader, you actually have two roles right now in a time of crisis. Number one is actually to steady the ship. And the way to steady the ship is actually to emphasize purpose, emphasize values, emphasize relationship. As you are also working on steering the ship towards a steadier or a calmer possibilities, right? Or a calmer waters. And that are the two roles that you need to work as a leader, not just steering, but also making sure that people are surviving.
Yep, that's great. So there's another question. What is one thing that a person can do to be more confident and stop being too self-conscious?
All right, there's always a reason why people are, less confident, or people are too self-conscious. There's always a reason for that, but there are also a lot of interventions that you can do to overcome that. Okay, so if you're one of those who have attended my Power Punch, this is not actually to promote my program, but that's one thing that I also have been seeing among people, especially if you're doing Usana. A lot of people are too, not just self-confident, but very fearful about the opinions of other people. And that is why they want to appear perfect as much as they can, because they don't like hearing the criticisms of other people. And that's the reason why they're too conscious about themselves. But on the flip side of that, being too conscious about yourself is also about being too conscious about what other people would have to say about you, right? But if you are able to overcome that, then you would have genuine self-confidence moving forward in your life.
So during coaching, we can get too emotionally involved with a person problem. How can we withdraw ourselves or not go too deep into it, yet still have that kind of empathy for the mentee?
All right. So I'm using empathy. Yes, empathy is not sympathy. Sympathy is actually feeling exactly the way the person is feeling. As I told you, as a coach, you are trained to actually be, you know, to be out of the bubble, but also inside the bubble. In other words, you're inside the perspective of the person, but you also maintain to be out of that. If you notice, I did not cry when they started to cry, right? Because if I would be sympathizing with them, then we would be in the same bubble, and there's no way for us to figure out what the problem really is. So I have to step back during the process. Yes, they may cry their hearts out, but I have to really step back. And from the very beginning of the coaching process, you are stepping back. It's not that you're not feeling that. You're feeling it 100%, but you also have the discipline to stay out of the bubble so that you can provide the person a different perspective instead of just telling the person, I understand what you're going through and I know how you feel. That's not the way. You can never help a person that way. You can also only help the person because when you're both in the bubble, then both of you are already part of the problem. That is why you need to step back. You have to be on a clean slate, but also at the same time 100% taking in the perspective of the person. It's a lot of discipline. It's not just a process, it's a lot of discipline that happens inside when you're coaching people.
Yeah. So what happens if you have a downline who doesn't want to be coached, or they are actually having some financial difficulties?
They have financial difficulties, but they don't want to be coached. Is that what you're saying?
Two separate questions. So what happens if a downline that doesn't want to be coached, and what happens if they were to be someone with financial problem?
All right. Coaching is not for everybody. The first thing a coach would need to gauge is actually the coachability of the person. So if the person doesn't want coaching, if the person, doesn't want to get into a coaching session or whatever, there are ways of coaching people without having a formal coaching session. And that's another totally different story and totally different strategy. But for downlines who doesn't want to be for downlines who don't want to be coached, that's not your problem anymore. All right? That means coaching is not for them. Maybe you can do other interventions, but not coaching for people who don't want. Coachability is one key so that people can maximize their potential through coaching. So even if they're having some financial problems, they have to see the financial problem more than you see it. Because that sometimes as uplines, we see their problems more than they do. That is why we want them to take more action more than they do. But the thing is, they've got to have ownership over their problems, ownership over their challenges, so that they would also have ownership over the solutions. And that's the limitation of mentoring. Because if you only want to mentor people and you have to press your own agenda on people but they don't like it, it will end up a failure eventually, right? There has to be some sort of a very strong relationship. It doesn't have to be coaching conversation, but strong relationship is key. And always remember that trust is the lubricant of any team, any organization. And trust is only established through relationship. So I guess the person eventually will open up to coaching or mentoring or whatever interventions you would be using for as long as it is in the context of a relationship.
Would you take a more passive approach or a more proactive approach in terms of coaching? So would you be actively reaching out to the person to coach, offer your service, or would you wait and see and get them when they have questions, they come to you? Or what would your approach be? Would it be different for everyone?
Yeah, it's different for everyone, but as for my practice, there has to be a coaching agreement. It has to be an agreement between the coach as well as the coaching. All right? I'm not usually the type who would be calling out for people, I will coach you and be offering myself to coach them. Get that? I'm not that type. I can mentor them, I can sit down with them, I can, teach them through the business and through the entire process of the business. But you don't want to devaluate the value of coaching or even mentoring by simply trying to chase people who don't like it. Get that? There are other interventions like maybe plug them into training, and when they're capable, then you can. When they're willing, then they can be coached already. Coaching actually works for people who want it's not the answer to everything, but it works for people who are who already who are at a level where they want to take charge, or they want to develop their skill, or they want to move their business to the next level, or their growth to the next level. That's where coaching would come in. It's not applicable to all situation, and it's not one bullet for all problems.
Yep. Last question here. What kind of books or readings would you recommend for people who wants to improve their mentoring skills or coaching skills?
There are a lot of books. Let me take a look at my books. All right, there's Coaching for Leadership, there's Co-Active Coaching, and there are a lot of coaching skills that you can actually learn. All right, but the thing about coaching is that some of the skills are so easy to understand, but very difficult to develop as a skill. So if I were you, get into training. If you want to, coaching is not just for people who want to be professional coaches. In fact, most of the work that we do is actually training managers and training leaders to coach their own organizations, and that's more or less my focus. Not really on equipping people to become professional coaches or to become life coaches, but equipping people or leaders to be able to coach others in the context of their own organization. So
Wow.
get a training.
Okay, good. Thank you, Rob. Are we good with everything, or you have time for more questions?
Of course, I do have time for more questions. It's up to the people.
Okay, I think we do not receive any more questions. Thank you very much for your time. Everyone, if you love Rob, please type in the group chat now a 2 so that we know that you really, really love what Rob has taught you. So, in summary, it is important that despite knowing all the things, it is important that you put all these things into practice. Learn how to ask questions that can help your mentee to move forward, and identifying the real underlying issues is very, very important. So Rob has demonstrated to all of you how exactly you can ask questions and keep asking questions until they can come up with truthful with what exactly is happening to them. So thank you, Rob. So
Can I promote something?
yes, sure.
All right. So every Friday, I actually do, and a lot of the things that you're going through right now during a time of crisis can actually be addressed with three things: adaptability, resilience, and agility. So this Friday, on May 1, May 8, and May 15 at 2 p.m., all right, on your Zoom, I usually post it on my account in Facebook. So I'd be talking about resilience and how to thrive in times of uncertainty. So if you want to be able to plug in, we can only accommodate up to 1,000 people. So usually on a Thursday or a Wednesday, we already post the ID and make sure you get your slot. It's for free, and it's our way of helping out people to be able to thrive in this time of uncertainty, especially our Uznana associates.
Wow. So everybody, if you cannot get enough of Rob, you can attend his Zoom meeting May 1st, 8th, and 15th. So he will also be speaking to all of us again on May 4th. So if you can, please log on to our hub and watch out for his